Hello and welcome to The Big Game. I'm Michael Vinsanau along with Annessa Cruz. Today we'll take a look at football and how the Lions are doing at spring training.
And we'll also see how the baseball team fared in their recent series victory.
But first, we'll take a look at the men's basketball team and how they wrapped up the season. The men's basketball team suffered a heartbreaking overtime defeat against rival McNeese State 62-60 in the first round of the Southland Conference playoffs. Cedric Jenkins led the Lions, scoring 27 points, followed by senior Anochi Ochi's 12-point, 11-rebound double-double. This marks the end of the first season of the Jay Ladner era at Southeastern. The Lions finished with an overall record of 9-23 and 6-12 in Southland Conference play.
With players like Devontae Upson and Zay Jackson receiving all-conference honors for their big-time play on the court and the stat sheets, there's one player whose worth can't be seen on the stat sheet. Instead, it's his work ethic on the court that shines. Daniel Greaves has shown that he truly has the heart of a Lion. Javon Monroe has more on the story.
Daniel Greaves' basketball journey has come full circle. After playing for head coach Jay Ladner in high school, Greaves found his way back to his old coach.
Coach Ladner, who coaches here now, was my high school coach. So once I knew that he was probably going to take a job somewhere, I immediately started working on trying to graduate in hopes that he would be able to take me wherever he went. And it just so happens that he came here at Southeastern, which is close to where I went to high school and where I grew up.
From his childhood in Bay St. Louis, Mississippi, with parents who both played college hoops, Greaves has always been around basketball.
Grew up in the gym. I was always running around, always had a ball in my hand.
Greaves was a member of the Under-14 USA World Champions in Geneva, Switzerland in 2007. He went on to play at St. Stanislaus Prep, where he would first play for Coach Jay Ladner. Greaves had a decorated high school career, earning 3-time conference MVP and 5-time all-conference honors. He started for the varsity as an 8th grader, playing for 5 years and in 4 state title games. In 2011, his team won both the district title and state championship.
First 8th grader in school history. My school's 160 years old, so it was pretty cool at the time. And then I was able to set the career wins and the career starts and the career points, and Ladner was right there to help me out through all of it.
Now in his junior season, the 6'7" power forward is really coming into his own. As time winds down, Greaves plans to make the most out of his journey here at Southeastern.
I'm more than happy to be here, and I wouldn't have wanted to tough it out at any other school. It's been more than rewarding already, even though we've been through so much in our first year, but I'm excited and can't wait for next year.
For The Big Game, I'm Javon Monroe.
Southeastern's baseball team moved to 15-6 overall with its recent win over Abilene Christian 11-0 to win the series. Junior Kyle Sedetall pitched a 2-hit shutout with 14 strikeouts and no walks. The Lions' batting was also on point with 11 hits, 7 walks, and only 2 strikeouts. A week earlier, the Lions won their 5th game in a row against Southern University. Let's go to the highlights. The Lions are back in the Pat versus Southern University out of Baton Rouge. Now starting off, Carson Christ with the RBI single to bring in Julian Service. But up next, Southern responds with that big bomb over the left field wall to tie the game. But no worries though, Cashman redeems himself with a filthy strikeout, leaving the batter in the dirt. Up next, Seward bangs in one to center field to bring in another run, but Chris Eads knows his way around the plate and barely skims past the catcher to score another run. Now 2 men on next inning, and Southern walks Service to load the bases. Taking his nice trot to first base, and 1 inning later, yet another walk to lead the Lions to bases loaded full. That's Jacob Stewart on that walk. Now next inning, the pitcher's winding up. Service hits that infield single. Looks like an easy play for the second baseman, but it goes wrong, and the Lions bring in 2 to go up 6-1. Southeastern would add 5 more to beat Southern 11-3.
The Lady Lions softball team also had its share of success with their series sweep over Incarnate Word, moving them to 10-15 overall, but 5-1 in Southland Conference play. Big Game reporter Taylor Rubach has more.
On March 11th, the Southeastern Lady Lions softball team lost a doubleheader to non-conference opponent Cleveland State. In Game 1, the Vikings jumped out to a 2-0 lead in the top of the second inning against junior pitcher Madison Viege. The Vikings broke open the game in the top of the fourth inning with 3 unearned runs and a 4-run rally to take a 6-0 lead. The Lady Lions came back in the bottom of the fourth with singles by Katie LaCour and Kinsey Nichols with no outs. Sydney Booker then popped a deep sacrifice fly to bring home LaCour, and Nichols would later score on an RBI single by Teresa Lemos to close the gap to 6-2. And that would be as close as Southeastern would get in this game with a final score of 7-2.
And our defense is pretty good, but mainly just hitting and then being behind our pitchers and helping them out, because Tori did a really good job tonight. We just didn't get the hits when we needed them.
In Game 2 against the Vikings, a Lady Lion error broke a scoreless tie in the top of the third. Southeastern responded to take the lead in the bottom of the fourth inning. A single by Lemos and consecutive walks issued to Sloan Jenkins and Lacey Fritz loaded the bases with 2 outs. Pinch runner Peyton Stokes Sutton then scored on a wild pitch, and Megan Moore followed with an RBI single up the middle to score Amanda Lividal for a 2-1 lead. But the Vikings came back in the 7th inning to tie the game and send it to extra innings.
We left 9 batters on, and the biggest thing you got to do is when you have an opportunity to score, you got to drive the runs in. And, they left 5 on, we left 9 on. If we drove in the runs early, we wouldn't have gone to the extra inning game.
In the top of the 8th, Cleveland State blew the game open by batting around and scoring 5 runs to take home their second W of the night, 7-2.
Definitely hitting. We need to work behind our pitchers, and when they're doing good and shutting the teams down late in the game, we need to come through for them and really just get those runs that they need for the pitchers.
Although it wasn't their best doubleheader, the Lady Lions are focusing on one thing: the Southland Conference Championship.
It was certainly a tough doubleheader loss for the Lady Lions. However, freshman Sydney Booker continues to battle in each game, leading the team with 5 home runs and 29 RBIs. Alongside her is junior Amber Sather with 4 home runs and leading the ladies with 19 walks. For the Big Game, I'm Taylor Rubach.
Southeastern's football team officially began spring training with a scrimmage Saturday. A few players are standing out early, including junior quarterback Larry Cutbirth, who may be looking to replace All-American Brian Bennett. Also, freshman running back Julian Miraculin and sophomore Eugene Bethea each ran for touchdowns. On the other side of the ball, junior defensive back Derek Raymond had an interception, while linebackers Herbert Harris and Sean Clavel each had a few quarterback sacks. With more on spring training, let's go to Adam Hebert live at Strawberry Stadium. Adam?
Lions fans are going to have some trouble recognizing any familiar faces this fall, as there's a lot of fresh faces that need to step up in big places on both offense and defense. This past Saturday, the Lions ran their first scrimmage, running about 90 plays in approximately 2 hours. First-year defensive coordinator Blake Williams should be impressed with his defense, as they put on a good showing this past Saturday, and they look to improve on Saturday, March 28th, as the Lions run their spring game. Hopefully we can look towards improvements in the fall as the Lions look for their 3rd conference title in 3 years. Back to you guys in the studio.
Thanks, Adam. Coming up after the break, we'll take a look at the tennis team's first loss in conference play.
We'll also see how the track and field team did in their recent meet at McNeese. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Big Game. The track and field teams recently visited McNeese for the Cowboy Relay's Bob Hayes Louisiana Challenge, where they finished 4th place, scoring a combined 148 points in the 12-team meet. Junior Misha Frazier set a new record in the women's hammer throw. Frazier finished 1st place with a toss of 196 feet, 1.5 inches, breaking the old record of 191 feet and 6 inches. The men's 4x400 meter relay team claimed first in the event, recording a time of 3 minutes, 25 seconds, and 0.05 of a second. In an earlier meet, the Lions competed at the South Alabama Jaguar Relays. Macy Hill filed this report.
Although the indoor track and field season has come to an end, the Lions have been busy preparing for the outdoor season. Head coach Sean Brady has been bracing his team for the intensity of the season, going above and beyond to make sure his team is mentally and physically ready.
We just did yoga the other day. He wants us to be fully balanced as a team and give it our all on the track and in school and just every day.
The Lions actually began their outdoor season at the Jaguar Open in Mobile, Alabama recently, men placing second and women placing third. Right off the bat, sophomore Colin Rowland earned a first-place finish in the men's javelin event with 64.17 meters. Senior Derek Hampton finished close behind in third with 59.24 meters. Later on, junior Sharon and Ourso came in second in the women's pole vault with a height of 3.76 meters. That is an increase of 0.20 meters since the Jaguar Open last year. Sharon explained her method of training for this upcoming season.
I've definitely focused on a few more in particular things. Pole vault is such a technical event that there's a lot of different aspects that each pole vaulter has to focus on, and it's just focusing on the right thing at the right time, and it just came together a lot better this year.
On the women's side, the 4x100 meter relay team, consisting of Vanessa Williams, Shanitria Thomas, Daja Washington, and Kaylin Smith, won the first event with a combined time of 4:25:53. Junior Misha Frazier placed first in the women's hammer throw with a distance of 52.50 meters. On the men's side, the Lions swept the men's high jump event. Senior Clarence Robinson placed first with 2.4 meters, while Kadaris Williams came in second and Devin King came in third. Junior Andre Colbrook came in first in the men's 600-meter relay with a time of 1:19:64. Looking back at the indoor season, junior Alex Young finished 5th out of 16 this weekend in the weight throw at the NCAA Indoor Championship in Arkansas. Although track and field won't compete again until the Alabama Relays, the Lions have started this season on a high note, hoping they hold on to that momentum.
The track and field team's next meet will be at the Alabama Relays in Tuscaloosa.
Southeastern's tennis team suffered its first conference loss to Central Arkansas 4-3 recently. Junior Renee Villarreal remained undefeated in singles, and freshman Dani Regatas and Medina Voradnokova each won their single matches as well. Unfortunately, the wins weren't enough as the Lady Lions were unable to pick up wins in the doubles matches. Their record moves to 5-2 overall and 2-1 in conference play.
In golf, the Lions recently finished 7th at the Border Olympics hosted by the University of Houston. The team combined for a score of 1 over par, losing to Southland rival McNeese State by just 1 point. Junior Iman Bradley tied for 6th place in the final individual standings.
Coming up after the break, Adam Hebert will be joining us for Pick and Roll. We'll be right back.
The Southeastern Channel offers a lot for sports fans.
Coaches shows, interviews with student athletes.
Football games, baseball games, basketball games.
I enjoy watching the coaches' insight programs after the online tracks because it does give our fans an insight of what happened during the game.
I enjoy watching the big game. You know, it gives me an opportunity to keep up with Southeastern athletics on a weekly basis. You know, not just football, baseball, basketball, but even the smaller sports, you know, like soccer and volleyball.
One of the things I've enjoyed most through the years watching is the production of the glory years.
It's a history, it's a documentation of where we've come from around here.
Solidified the reason why we brought Southeastern football back.
When the Southeastern Channel replays games, it helps the students be able to catch up and see what's going on.
I like to watch the baseball games and the football games.
It's the only time I get to watch Southeastern football is I get to see it on television. I don't ever have time to go.
Even athletics can be an educational experience when you involve the Southeastern Channel.
Welcome back to the big game. I'm Michael Vinsanau along with Annessa Cruz, and now joining us is Adam Hebert for Pick and Roll. Thanks for joining us, Adam.
Thanks for having me, guys.
We're going to go ahead and get started off with Southeastern athletics. Of course, Southeastern men's basketball ended the season on a 5-game skid, but it was the first year for Coach Jay Ladner. Adam, what do you see as a future for Southeastern basketball?
Well, you know, every program goes through ups and downs, and this was it was a first-year coach. We got to replace 2 big men. For starters, there were 2 seniors, big important guys, and we had our front court was injured for the majority of the year. You can't expect to be overly successful when you've got, 2 leaders like that gone. I think the most important thing is a good off-season, good recruiting, and we got to look forward to a lot of improvement next year.
Okay, Annessa, how do you feel about the Southeastern men's basketball team going forward?
I agree. I agree with Adam. Devontae Upson and Anochi Ochi are leaving. They're seniors, 2 big men. They're definitely going to have to replace those 2 spots. Also, for the backcourt, they need someone to fill the spot of Joshua Fillmore and Zay Jackson at the point guard, Joshua Fillmore at the 2 spot. I think Jermichael Hawkins will be healthy, and I think he'll definitely do well at that 2 guard spot because he was the leading scorer prior to him being injured. But they're definitely going to have to look at a good 3 or 4 key players to come in and fill that roster.
Okay, and like you said, replacing players. Also, the women's team next year, they had their first-year coach just like the men's team, and they are going to have to replace a few more players. Adam, what do you see about the women's basketball team here at Southeastern?
It is an awfully similar situation. You know, first-year coaches are it's kind of, you know, give them a pass on their first year. I think the biggest thing for the women is obviously you got to have a good offseason again with recruiting. And you got to win some games on the road. If I'm not mistaken, I don't think the women won a single game on the road. We were 0-15 if I'm thinking correctly. And I mean, that's going to happen, but you got to win some games on the road. You got to be resilient on the road for sure.
Annessa, you have firsthand experience with the Lady Lions. You played a few years here. How do you think about the ladies going forward?
I agree with Adam wholeheartedly. That 15-game losing streak on the road really, really killed us. And in order to win Southland Conference tournament, you have to win on the road. I also think that it will help us to get another big player to take some of the pressure off of Nana Poole. And by no means we have to replace our point guard position. We are losing a big role in Elizabeth Stiles, who scored 1,000 points and broke records in assists and was 13th in the nation for assists. So that's a big role to fill. We're definitely going to have a point guard and another post player to help us out.
Okay. And of course, last year, the men's and women's basketball teams both had exciting off seasons, but it looks like this year could be even more exciting with basically replacing the entire team. But let's switch to the different ball here. Baseball. They've gone 2-1 in both conference series so far this season. What's it going to take to break out the brooms, Adam?
Well, first of all, the most important thing in a sweep is your Sunday starter. You've got to be resilient. You got to come out. You got to throw strikes. But like you said, a sweep is a big deal. In order to get a high seed in your Southland Conference tournament, which winning it is it's going to take to get to the NCAA tournament, you've got to have some sweeps. You can't go 2 out of 3 every single weekend. You're going to end up in the middle of the pack, and that's a much tougher road to get to the conference tournament. So 2 or 3 sweeps here in the conference play are big for us.
Now, Annessa, we've done well so far this season, 15-6 overall. What do you think as a whole of baseball going forward? How do you think we're going to do?
I think we're going to do really well. I think the coaching staff and the players, they really know how to win, and as long as we can find a way to win some of those sweeps, I think we'll do really well, give us some momentum going forward into conference play.
And of course, the men's baseball team was ranked number 3 in conference going into conference games so far this season, so we'll look forward to see how they finish this season. Now, just like baseball, let's switch to softball. So far, they've started out 5-1 in conference so far this season, but they've done terrible in non-conference. How big importance is it for non-conference games?
Well, you know, for a standpoint of a mental standpoint, it's not good. But what matters now is conference play. The only way you're going to find yourself in postseason play is if you win the Southland Conference tournament. And starting off your regular season conference play at 5-1 is something you can hang your hat on. If you win out in conference, then you feel real confident going into the tournament. You win the tournament, you're in the dance, and that's all that matters.
Mm-hmm. Annessa, we do have that number 4 seed. Where do you see us panning out in the season?
If they can continue to win games, then I think that they will do well going into tournament play. I think that losing games in pre-conference, it's not so much of a big deal because now they're finding out how to win. I think that they were just working out the kinks, but now there's 4 other teams undefeated, so they're definitely going to have to win out in order to do well in the tournament.
Okay. And of course, we'll be looking forward to seeing those great Southeastern teams playing deep into the conference. Now let's switch to NCAA as a whole. March Madness, the big dance, it's time. Who do you guys see, Adam, as the Cinderellas and the national champions?
Well, everything in my body wants me to pick against Kentucky because everybody's going to pick Kentucky, but I'm picking Kentucky. It's one of the most dominant runs I've seen, and I think any of us have seen since the undefeated 76 team, Indiana. Cinderella, we got to go Southland with Stephen F. Austin. Also, I'd watch out for Harvard. I know people won't believe me, but they have a chance to upset North Carolina, who kind of sleeps on teams like Harvard.
Annessa, you have basketball insight. What do you see about the big dance and who's going forward?
If Kentucky doesn't make it to the Final Four, then I don't know what to tell them because I really feel like they have an easy walk going into the NCAA tournament. The number 2 and 3 spots go to Arizona and Baylor, and I think Arizona, out of those 2 teams, has a really good chance of upsetting Kentucky if anyone has a chance to do it. As far as the Cinderella team, I'd definitely give it to SFA as well. Last year, they upset VCU in the first round, and they made it to the second round. No one expected that, especially VCU with Coach Shaka Smart over there. They have Final Four experience. No one expected that, and I think the more you keep getting to the tournament, the more games you're able to win because you're there and you have that experience. So I think SFA will surprise a lot of people and hopefully even make the Sweet 16. I won't say as far as the Final Four. I think I'll give that to Kentucky, but Sweet 16, I can definitely see that.
Okay. Personal predictions: the last time Kentucky lost, last year's national championship game. So it's going to be hard to pick against the Wildcats out of Kentucky. But for Cinderellas, do not sleep against a hometown state team, the LSU Tigers. Okay, they're sitting at the number 9 seed. Hopefully they can pull out a big win against NC State and Villanova. But other than that, let's pull for SFA. Other than that, basketball, Pelicans. Of course, we just got AD back, the big man in the center, the superstar of the Brow. We all know him. We all love him. Where does he play going into the playoffs, Adam?
Well, obviously, if you're going to ride anybody to the playoffs, it's going to be Anthony Davis for the Pelicans. But unfortunately, I hate to break hearts here, but with Kevin Durant coming back for the Thunder and the Thunder sitting at the 8th seed, with the way Russell Westbrook is playing, I see them taking off. I don't see the Spurs relinquishing any ground or the Clippers who sit at the 6 and 7. So our best hope is that one of them do, because once Kevin Durant comes back, the Thunder are going to take off. So I don't see playoffs for us this year. We need one more piece.
Now, Annessa, 9 out of our 16 remaining games, all of those teams are already in the playoffs right now. If they win out, they're guaranteed a spot. What does that do for us?
Well, we're in the 9th spot right now, so we have to win one more game to get that 8th seed. As far as what you said about the Thunder and Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook, they're known to drop games even with their star players there, so I wouldn't completely count the Pelicans out, especially with Anthony Davis returning. I'd say that as long as we win, I think we can clinch that 8th spot.
Okay. Now, just like New Orleans, the Saints. Some are calling it a fire sale. Some are loving the new team. What do you guys see going forward for the Saints team?
Well, some hometown fans might be angry at all the fan favorite names that are leaving, but I compare it to what the Patriots do. You know how successful the Patriots franchise is. It doesn't matter who you are. If you are old or your contract is too much, costing us too much money, we will release you, we will cut you, we'll get draft picks, and hopefully they can take the same route that the Patriots did and be successful in this year's draft. We have 9 picks, 5 in the first 3 rounds, so hopefully with the acquisitions of the players we got recently and those picks, we can make noise this year.
Now, Annessa, you know the Saints have been really active in offseason so far. Who do you see, of all the free agents we've signed, who do you see stepping up?
Well, I know that they definitely picked up C.J. Spiller at the running back position, so they're making moves on offense, but they're also making moves on defense with Brandon Browner at the safety spot. So I think just bringing in fresh bodies, new good players in this draft, I think that's going to help us out in the next season.
And like you said, Brandon Browner, 3 years, 3 teams, maybe the 3rd time's a charm because he did win Super Bowls with the past 2 teams. But that'll do it for this episode of The Big Game. Join us again next time for the Lion Sports, and for the latest in Southeastern athletics, you can visit www.lionsports.net. For Annessa Cruz and Adam Hebert, I'm Michael Vinsanau. Thanks for watching.